Welcome to Mental Health and Faith, a closer look. I'm Carolyn Cooper, and my ministry name is Mental Health Connect. My mission is to offer encouragement and to help you find your way into this complicated world. There will be links and resources in the show notes. You'll want to check those out. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Hi, this is Carolyn Cooper, and welcome to another episode of Mental Health and Faith, a closer look. And today we really are taking a closer look at a condition, a challenge that I honestly had not heard of before. And I'm thrilled that my guest, Nanette Holloway, is going to fill us in. So welcome to the show, Nanette.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here, Carolyn.
Good. Nanette and I were connected by a friend of mine named Rebecca Tesman. She is an amazing writer. She's a writer's coach, and Rebecca and I are in the same Heart of America Christian Writers Network. Why don't you tell us a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm an RN. I'm married and have two grown boys and a grandson and a wonderful daughter-in-law. I went to ORU, Oral Roberts University. Then I got my master's in nursing education at Southern Nazarene University. I'm also a writer, a speaker, and a blogger.
Okay. Well, we have a few things in common, but I definitely am not a nurse. And I think it's a challenging profession, and good for you for that great work that I'm sure you do.
Well, thank you.
Well, Nanette, I want to jump right into the topic. You had shared with me that one of your challenges in life is that you live with a condition known as selective mutism. Now, as I
Yeah.
said, I had not heard that term before. So can you tell us a little bit about, or kind of define what selective mutism is and how that's impacted your life?
Sure. It's a relatively rare condition. It affects approximately 4% of the population, or about one out of every 164 children. The condition stems from fear, social anxiety, or phobia. And there's an area in the brain, it's the amygdala, and it is responsible for our emotions. And that area perceives danger and danger signals from the environment, and the communication of the individual shuts down. And out of a fear response, the child may also have coexisting developmental delays or sensory perception difficulty, sensory processing. The demographics of this condition are primarily females with an onset of age 2 to 6.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, it is
Oh, I
fairly
didn't realize that.
early. Yeah. And they think that, it's a condition that the parents are probably anxious as well. I know my mother was very anxious, and I kind of think my dad might have had this too, this selective mutism. He was very quiet, but he was also very, very hard of hearing. So it's kind of hard to tell which was at work with him, and he was older, and I don't know that much about his past or anything.
Right.
But it also, the child can normally speak just fine at home, but in new situations or school, for instance, that's where the trouble begins. And the child may just sit quietly and not participate in anything. But the behavior that is usually described is shy, timid, awkward, anxious, insecure, and sometimes motionless. They kind of freeze up, or even rude. I know that people have perceived me as being rude before. I know that because I was just so quiet. And people kind of don't know what to do with you when you're real quiet. They kind of
Yeah.
maybe
Can I ask a quick question? Uh,
sure.
from the way you're describing it so far, it sounds like it could be hard to diagnose or identify because,
Yes.
I mean, I was a very shy, introverted child.
Right. So, and it is kind of okay. Sometimes I wonder, well, was it really that, or was I just shy and introverted? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
still introverted.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my husband has said that too, but he didn't. I just kind of started figuring this out.
Okay.
And so I kind of put the pieces together. And my husband, we were talking to somebody, their child has selective mutism really bad, kind of uh, almost has agoraphobia.
Oh.
So that kind of, I never had it that bad, but my husband said, oh, well, that explains a lot because he didn't know I had it either.
Oh.
Most people that know me would say, well, of course you don't have that because I'm familiar with them and I talk to them.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're right, it is very hard to diagnose. And back in the day, in when I was growing up, people did just think we were shy. My mother used to talk incessantly, and I did not want to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was another reason why I was probably kind of quiet too. But it can affect grades and functioning because the anxiety is so high. During the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety in children doubled. So, but they didn't differentiate if it was selective mutism in any of that, in any of those statistics. So it did
Interesting.
increase. Yeah. Usually this does not continue into adulthood, but for me it did. I was about 35 and then I kind of started talking more, but college was terrible. I got through college and only got to know about 5 people.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty stressful for me. And the crowds were so big and that kind of scared me. And I did have a lot of fear. I kind of lived in fear when I was younger. Um, it also fed into a victim role for me.
Mm.
And I ended up getting into abusive relationships as a young RN. Most most of the time I was bullied a lot as a young nurse. I mean, I couldn't defend myself and wouldn't defend myself. And I really didn't know what being assertive was. Um, but I did go to a counseling, uh, it was free counseling for women. And I asked the counselor, well, what is assertiveness? How can I
Oh,
get that?
yeah.
And because everybody said, you need to be more assertive. Well,
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So we did some role playing, but I always continued all through my adult life, I continued counseling. And I think I needed the one-on-one support
Mm-hmm.
and subjective, just being able to voice what was going on in my life. And I always kind of needed that. So, and I still do, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So,
Well, and I know you have more to say, but I just want to comment that it's so important for people to know it's okay to get counseling, to recognize
yes,
you need it. Because,
yes,
and I really applaud your courage in doing that because it's not an easy thing to get started with, but you did and you knew you needed it and you've persevered through continuing
yes.
to do what you need to do, and that is so important. And this is really an eye-opening story, but go ahead and continue.
Let's see. As I said, the condition led into a victim role. And over the years, and it did take years, I had to learn to make good boundaries.
Mhm.
And I had to find my voice. And I did that through a 12-step program. That pretty
Yeah.
much changed my life. That did, because it was like, okay, this behavior is not okay. I'm not going to tolerate certain things. And anyway, I was
I
able to get out of that victim role, which
I
is
just I just have to say, when you mentioned the 12-step program, people listening, I just want you to know 12-step programs are not just for substance use
absolutely.
disorders. I also went through a Christian 12-step program as part of my recovery from trauma because of some unhealthy habits I developed. And I love 12-step programs. So
Yes, I
that's
do
a
too.
yes, it's a great tool. We'll have to chat more about that another time. But
Okay, great.
okay,
I'd love that.
good.
Okay.
Are there any other details about your past experiences that you'd like to share?
I did attend a women's conference in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I was kind of delivered
Oh,
some of it, which was very cool.
very good. That's exciting that
Yes,
was it a faith-based, a Christian conference
yes,
for women?
yes, it was. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew
Faith.
something had happened, but I didn't know what. And it just kind of unfolded, and it's like, wow, the Lord delivered me from that.
That
So
is
yeah,
fantastic.
I still have problems. If I'm around really strong, aggressive
Mm,
individuals
hmm.
or women, I'll shut down. Or if I'm in, there's a lot of conflict, I'm just gonna turn around and walk the other way. I'll shut down, and I don't deal well with that kind of stuff.
But some of that is also you are setting a boundary by walking away sometimes, or it's just something
Yes,
else to work on.
because there's a lot of really aggressive people there.
Yes, there are.
No.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I just have to say, okay, this is not working for me. Like you said, I guess it is a boundary,
Hmm.
and I'm not comfortable with this, and I'm going to step away.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it is some self-care in there.
Good. From everything you've been through, uh, what kind of encouragement could you offer to someone who may be going through this selective mutism or social anxiety? I know you've already mentioned counseling was really important in the 12-step group. What other kinds of things did you do to help you persevere, or what kind of encouragement can you offer to people going through this?
Well, faith was a great anchor for me. I
Good.
knew God promised wholeness, and I was going to get it one way or another. I had to. So
Rely on the promises of God.
yes, I did. And most of the time it looked like I wasn't going anywhere, but over time I did. And let's see, I learned to kind of through the 12-step program, actually, I kind of learned to face my fear and walk through it and know that I was going to be okay.
Mm.
So that was pretty monumental for me because like I said, I used to kind of live in fear. New situations
Mhm.
uh, bothered me. As a matter of fact, the, the most recent job that I have, I was extremely anxious. I still get anxious, not as much, but I was extremely anxious with this new job. And I thought, well, I'm just going to get a prescription for a new
Mhm.
anti-anxiety medication, and maybe I won't have to take it. So I had it if I just couldn't stand it anymore.
Mhm.
And I never did use it. So God got me through
Great.
that. And it's actually the best job I've ever had. I work with some amazing women. Uh, they're very kind, probably the kindest group of women I've ever worked with, which is incredible to me. So no terribly, they're strong personalities, but they're not abrasive,
Right, right.
which is great.
Yes. Well, I will share that I also have a bottle in my bathroom drawer that says take as needed for anxiety, and I rarely take it. But
Mhm.
I have a mental health condition also, and it's again, you have to know what it means to take care of yourself. And if it means having something
Yes.
available when you need it, that's great. Go into counseling and the various things. And faith, as you said. So,
Mhm.
obviously this show is called Mental Health and Faith.
Yes.
And you've already touched a little bit on faith. Could you share more about how your faith has brought you through? If you have any scripture verses that you like, or passages in scripture, or uh, any activities that you do in your faith life that help?
Uh, Well, I do. Um, I feel like I have a close relationship with the Lord, and I depend on that.
Mm,
Psalm 18 is probably my favorite psalm.
okay.
And um, I just I get up in the morning and that's my go-to.
Mm.
But I do credit the Lord with helping me get through all of this and to find my strength. I think that verse that says that he will never leave us nor forsake us,
Yes.
that is great. That's a great one for me. I really like that. I'm sorry I don't have the address.
That's okay. I will look it up and I'll get it on the screen is what I'll do. But Psalm 18. Okay. Now I don't have that memorized off the top of my head. Would you read like an excerpt from that psalm for us?
I would love to. Um, I did have this memorized once.
Oh.
I need to memorize it again, I think. Anyway, I love you fervently and devotedly, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my keen and firm strength, in whom I will trust and take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my high tower. I will call upon the Lord who is to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. The cords or bands of death surrounded me, and the streams of ungodliness and the torrents of ruin terrified me. The cords of Sheol surrounded me, and the snares of death confronted and came upon me. In my distress, when seemingly closed in, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him into his very ears. Then the earth quaked and rocked. The foundations also of the mountains trembled, and they were moved and were shaken because he was indignant and angry.
Ooh.
Yeah, I used to camp out on that a lot.
And it's a little different than I expected because but it's one of those psalms that is incredible because you are honestly voicing, the pain and the struggle and acknowledging who God is.
Yes, and that you're helpless against this,
Hmm.
the torment
Yeah.
of the fear and
Hmm.
anxiety. So yes,
But he's there.
he's there,
That was
and he's
beautiful.
going to get indignant and angry with those enemies of mine.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me to share that. I
That
love
was
it.
beautiful. Well, Nanette, I want to make sure the time is slipping away from us, and I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to share about your books, workshops you do, different activities and resources that you have available, because I'm sure people listening might really enjoy finding out more about what you
Okay.
have to offer.
Okay. Um, as I said before, I'm a writer. I got started writing because I took care of my dad
Mm.
in his last year of life. He was 90 and I was 40. He was older
Oh,
when I was born. So, but anyway, it was very difficult because he was kind of an angry man. But anyway, um, he was diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus, and God did so many miracles during that year that I knew that I had to write that down. So I did. And then I was a hospice nurse for a while. And I just saw, like myself, that caregivers were slipping through the cracks. So I did coping skills for caregivers, and I have a workbook to go with that, and a gratitude journal for caregivers. Then I also did jumping hurdles to writing success. It's just an encouragement if you've got a book on the shelf and you need to finish it. And then I did 2 devotionals. One is on the Song of Solomon, and the other one is Finding Delight in the Vineyard. I found I had a vineyard, and I asked the Lord to show me what he wanted me to know about John 15, and he did.
Oh,
So,
I love that passage about the vine. Yes.
yeah. So, but I wrote those 2 devotionals. I do women's retreats. I just finished a Song of Solomon this last year, and it was very nice. They had a wedding cake with the wedding with the topper on the cake that said, "I have found the one whom my heart loves."
Oh.
Or whom my heart desires. And then, but everything was very nice. And then I also just did one on a health continuum, mental, physical, and spiritual health, the pursuit of wholeness. And I also did Psalm 18, the power of praise, prayer, and gratitude. And if there's somebody and I'll also do Abiding in the Vine. It would be nice if I had a vineyard to work from on that. And I'll go through all the activities that a viticulturist would do. That's a person who tends the vineyard, from planting to pruning, which is often very painful, and fruit bearing. So all those activities in between. And if there's another theme that is already chosen, I can probably develop a venue for that as well.
Yes.
So I would love to speak at a women's retreats. I don't, for some reason, I don't get anxious doing that.
Yeah, I love to do that kind of thing too, and it's very rewarding. And
yes,
and especially as a writer, it just kind of lends itself to taking your material to share it in that way.
Yes,
Nanette, where can people find your books? And
I am on Amazon. NanetteHolloway.com is my blog site, and I have my books on there as well on my website page. And just under Nanette Holloway, you can find my books on Amazon, or you can get them from my website too.
Well, I will make sure to have links to both your website and Amazon, so people can check out all the titles. I'm sure, is information on your speaking also on your website?
Yes. It's not as well developed as I would like, but I'm working on that.
Okay, that's okay.
And people can email me, and I'll send them a worksheet, what they need to know, and we could go from there.
Great. Well, I'll make sure to have your email address available too. Well, thank you so much. I've learned a lot today. This has been very beneficial, and I also want to thank you for your vulnerability and sharing. That's not an easy thing to do, and you're sharing because you love the Lord and you have information that people would benefit from knowing. So I've just really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much, Nanette.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today, and please share your comments. Join the conversation on mental health and faith, and I would love to hear from you. My email is Carolyn, that's spelled Caroline, Carolyn at carolynScooper.com, and my contact information is also in the show notes. Have a blessed day.